Imagine two menacing figures from the depths of horror, lurking in the shadows of our nightmares. Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, each a monstrous force in his own right, driven by bloodlust and bound to an unholy lineage. But what if they're more than just killers? What if they share a bloodline, a cursed family tree twisted by generations of violence, and a legacy haunted by murder? What if Jason and Leatherface are not only connected, but bound by a dark family secret? Two small rural towns, two families, isolated and unyielding. The Voorhees living near a quiet lake where stories of a lost child still haunt the locals, and the Sawyers, surviving on the edges of society, hidden deep within the forgotten Texas plains. Both families cloaked in whispers of madness, and each led by a mother who would do anything to protect her son. Pamela Voorhees, Mrs. Sawyer, two mothers bound by ruthless, unwavering devotion and a willingness to spill blood. But were they driven by love or something darker? Rumors have surfaced over the years, old whispers, buried records, that hint these families may have more in common than anyone could imagine. Some say that the Voorhees and Sawyer families both descend from a cursed bloodline, stretching back to a time before names like Jason or Leatherface ever existed. Certain genealogists have speculated about a hidden link, two branches from one twisted tree. Perhaps they shared a common ancestor, a figure of horror whispered about in hushed voices, a butcher from centuries past who vanished after a series of brutal murders, leaving only blood-stained rumors. And then there's the connection between these murderous mothers, more alike than chance could explain. Pamela Voorhees, relentlessly protective, bent on avenging her son Jason's death by turning her rage on anyone who dared enter her domain. And Mrs. Sawyer, instilling in her son the twisted family values of blood and survival, encouraging Leatherface to carry on the grisly family trait. According to Dr. Ezra Hale, both women exhibit an almost supernatural drive to control and protect their sons. It's as if the legacy of violence they inherited was passed down, generation by generation. They not only enabled their sons' monstrous acts, but compelled them, as if driven by something far beyond mere parental duty. Could it be that these mothers were fulfilling the demands of a family curse, one that would demand blood for blood? In 1957, a series of brutal murders struck the Midwest, and again, in the early 70s, Texas was ravaged by a series of disappearances tied to the Sawyer farmhouse. Different states, but the crimes are disturbingly similar. Victims, chosen seemingly at random, disappearances that left locals shaken, and yet, no trace of the killers was ever found. One wonders, are these isolated events, or were these families connected all along? Were Jason and Leatherface merely the latest in a long line of killers? Could it be that Leatherface and Jason were born into the same nightmare, a blood debt destined to be repaid in blood? If Jason and Leatherface share a lineage, then perhaps each murder, each victim is part of a ritual older than we could ever understand. A gruesome family tradition passed down by mothers, year after year. Each kill, an offering, each victim, a sacrifice. Some say Jason's resilience, his supposed immortality, is not simply supernatural. Rather, it's the result of generations of killings, a pact made in blood. And Leatherface's compulsion to kill, to wear the flesh of his victim, might it be an inherited ritual? One passed down through the centuries? But we may never truly know the extent of this family's twisted heritage. All we have are pieces, fragments of a puzzle that may never be complete. Yet one thing is certain, this legacy lives on, through Jason, through Leatherface, through every terrified scream that fills the night. Perhaps, the next time you feel a pair of eyes watching you from the shadows, you'll wonder if they're watching. Because they're family. And family always finds a way to return.